So, good morning, everyone, and welcome to our online event, whether you're joining us here on Zoom, on YouTube, on Twitter, or wherever else it may be. Thank you for making the time to join us on this very important topic of tonight, which is how and when to fill out your self-assessment tax return. I'm very happy and grateful that we are here joined tonight by Aidan Corcoran from Go Simple Tax. Good evening, Aidan, once again.
Hi, everyone.
Hello. Just to tell you a bit more about Go Simple Tax, which I'm sure Aidan might complete for me anyway, it's a real-time digital income tax self-assessment app. So very, very useful, especially now when the deadline's approaching in just a week. Scary. And if you're a Freelancer Club member, you get 20% off their pricing plans as well. So you can just go here. I'll post the link in the chat here on Zoom. You just go to gosimpleTax.com/freelancer club and you get 20% off there, which is quite handy, I believe. So that's it from me. I'll be letting you in as you go, but because this is only half an hour and we're open to having questions at the end, so feel free to drop them in the chat and Aidan will leave space at the end to answer as many as he can. I will dive right in, if that's okay. So Aidan, over to you, and thanks once again for joining us tonight.
Thank you. So the pressure's on me now, is it? Making sure that it works. So thank you everyone for joining today. So we're looking at how and when to fill out your self-assessment tax return. Basically, a little bit about myself. I am a personal tax senior. I go Simple Tax. I've been in the tax for over 10 years now. I'm ATT qualified and I've recently sat the Chartered Advisor CTA exams. So in terms of me, I've been in the tax industry for quite a while, and hopefully I'll be able to share some of my reviews today. In terms of Go Simple Tax, as Gabby correctly pointed out, we are a self-assessment tax software company. If you want to submit directly to HMRC using the system, by all means, you'll see a little preview later on, and you can make your own mind up whether it's something suitable for you. So today we're going to look at who needs to fill in a self-assessment tax return. I know that the majority of you will be freelancers, but I'm going to do the wide spectrum of who needs to fill out a tax return. Registering for self-assessment, what is needed? What do you need to prepare before filing? Deadlines and record keeping, forms, and then how to fill the form. So who needs to fill in a tax return? So basically, as you guys and girls and other cases these days are freelancing, basically you need to let HMRC know when you earn more than £1,000 in a tax year. Basically up to the £1,000 limit you are covered by the trading allowance, but after that then you need to notify HMRC and then you need to register. But you also need to register if you become a company director. That's a HMRC requirement, not exactly a legislation requirement, but again, it's on the form, so I've decided to include it. Taxable income over £300, receive trust or settlement income, receive rental income, annual income over £100,000. If you're untaxed income, receive trust or settlement. Untaxed income not collected through PAYE, which is the majority of people who will be freelancing. That is the category that you would fall into. You earn £50,000 and receive the child benefit, and also if you've got capital gains tax to pay. They're basically the main reasons why you would join, why you would register for self-assessment and complete one. But as I say, freelancing is the whole self-employed aspect of things, and therefore that's why we would choose. So when registering for self-assessment, what is actually needed? Well, it's basically the information, key information about yourself. So full name, address, date of birth, national insurance number, although I'm pretty sure you don't exactly need a national insurance number, but if you've got one, make sure you include it, and then the income first received. Basically, that allows HMRC to decide in which tax year it is relevant for the registration. So when do you need to register? Basically, following the end of the tax year that you first pretty much fell into the criteria. So a little example would be if you started trading in July 2021, so 2021, that would fall in the 21-22 tax year. The tax year ends on the 5th of April, and therefore any time after the 5th of April, before the 31st of October, you would need to register for self-assessment. You would complete a CWF1 form, which basically registers for self-assessment as one, and also registers you for Class 2 NIC contributions, which relate to self-employed income. Basically, the cut-off is the 31st of October, which is also the deadline for paper submissions, but we're not going to talk about paper submissions because we are going to embrace digital era that we're in and submit electronically using online software. It basically gives you 7 months to register from the beginning of the new tax year as well, which should be ample enough time to get that registration submitted. So basically, covering in what you need to file. So you've registered now. A couple of weeks later, you've received your UTR in the post, and now we're looking at what you need to actually file your tax return. So as I've just said, we've received our unique taxpayer reference, or the UTR, as I'll reference it. National insurance number. Again, not entirely necessary, but if you've got one, make sure you include it on the form. It just cross-references your self-assessment record with your pay-as-you-earn record if you've got employment, as well as this freelancing self-employment role that you've got as well. And then you'll need record of any expenses relating to the freelance business, which we'll touch on a little bit later. But basically, you're looking at what expenses directly relate to the business, and you would include the whole expense on there, or an element if there is somewhat personal or private use involved. You'll need details of your income earned during the tax year. Again, when I say tax year refers to 6th of April, the 5th of April, and in my opinion, is the easiest accounting period to take on. Because if you start looking at year ends, let's say June, July, you start looking at that and you're going back even further in terms of what income report on a tax return. So I would always say, if you are going to be self-employed, then just follow the tax years as a rule of thumb. It makes things so much easier. So yeah, income from freelancing. You would also need any personal pension contributions that you've made, if you do make them. If you don't, ignore. For those that have been employed, you would include your employment 45, including the tax paid up until the date that you left, and then following that, you would then have the freelancing or self-employed income. So that would be one there. Those that aren't in their first year and are actually in their second year, you may have payments on account to make. So payments on account are effectively payments taken in advance of the tax actually being due. And that is where the point of any tax payments you've already made comes from. And then for those that are into their charitable giving, any gift aid that you've received, that you've paid, sorry. So anything in terms of donations to charities, make sure you tick that gift aid box, and provided that you pay tax, any relief that is available to you will be calculated on the tax return as and when you include it. So what expenses can I claim? So this is just a range of expenses that you can include as different freelancing businesses and other businesses as well. So, for example, in the cost of goods bought for retail or goods used, if you were a hairdresser, you'd basically look at what direct expenses you have here and what you basically buy to then use on clients. So dyes, tints, hairspray, shampoo, conditioner, etc., etc. If you're a decorator, then you're looking at paintbrushes, paint, wallpaper, primer, etc. I'm not going to read them all out because you can read, and it would just be too long in terms of what's on the page. So we're also looking here, which is good for some people, car, van and travel expenses. Mileage allowance. Mileage allowance is a good allowance to be aware of, because if you feel as though you don't do enough travel, but you do some travel, then the mileage allowance would probably be something that interests you. The mileage allowance rates are 45 pence per mile for the first 10,000 miles. And for those that love to travel in the work or have to travel in the work, 10,000 miles and over would be at 25 pence. So if you claim a mileage allowance, keep them rates in mind. If you're not, then you could always look at claiming your actual car expenditure. Actual car expenditure falls under the category of insurance, repairs, services, road tax and fuel. They're put in brackets, subject to private use adjustment. Basically, you can't just claim for all your repairs, all your services, all your fuel if you use that vehicle for both private and business. You would actually probably need to keep a mileage log, and on the mileage log you would have the total miles driven and then whether it's personal or business. At the end of that year, you'll then have a percentage of what you used for business against what you used for personal, and then you could take the full amount in terms of the insurance, repairs, etc., and you've got that adjustment there for the private use to deduct off your tax return. So it gives basically an ideal and real representative of the business use of the car. And then separate to that, you've also got taxi, train and bus costs. If you're using public transport, then for business travelling to and from clients, then by all means claim those if necessary. And then depending on how big you are, you may end up hiring someone. The costs of hiring someone are obviously relevant to your business and therefore would be allowable. Skipping pages here. So moving on to deadlines and records in terms of records keeping and deadlines. So you would register for self-assessment following the end of the tax year by the 31st of October. That is something that I mentioned a little bit earlier. So from the 6th of April to the 31st of October, you would basically look to register for self-assessment. You would have to submit your first tax return by 31st of January following the end of the tax year again. So it basically gives you that 9-month period. Making payments, or you've got tax to pay and payments on account, then that is also due by the 31st of January. So effectively on the 31st of January, you're going to have the tax return deadline, so actually submit your tax return, as well as making that balancing payment for the tax year. If you fall into payment account, you've also got that first payment on account as well, which is effectively half of the due for the year. And then you've got the second payment account, which is due in July. Those that are in that payment account system, the first payment and the second payment, which you make, you will be able to include on your tax calculations when you come to complete your tax return for the following year, because it's, as I said, an advance payment of tax for the tax year. Sorry, I've just got the dog going on a mad one. So that's deadlines, and then moving on to records. And in terms of your invoices and receipts for a self-employed business, you basically would need to keep those invoices and receipts for at least, and I say at least, 5 years and 9 months following the end of the tax year. Basically, HMRC required to do that because that is the investigation period, inquiry period for these types of returns, those that have got self-employment records. But depending on whether anything dodgy has been going on, they can open up inquiries up to 20 years. And if you don't have that information available, and I say you know you've been dodgy, but then HMRC could literally come down and you're like a ton of brick. So I don't believe that anybody is going to be dodgy, but I would always keep your record for at least 5 years and 9 months following the end of the tax year. Best thing to do about that is keep them on sort of digital OneDrive, whether it be Google or Microsoft or anything else that you've got in mind. But it's just easily accessible then as well. If you ever come back to a tax return 3 years later and you go, oh, I can't remember what the details that were, you can just pop into that folder on your OneDrive and access the information. So, for example, in the 21-22 tax year, records must basically be kept until at least 31st January 2028. So, again, it's throwing loads of dates at you, loads of different time periods, but hopefully it gives you some sort of idea of when you need to submit certain things and when you need to keep things by. Hopefully no questions so far, but if you do have questions, as Gabby mentioned earlier, make sure you stick them in the chat box. So moving on now to a quick screenshot demo of Go Simple Tax. Say quick, it is probably about 10 to 12 slides, if that, but it just gives you an idea of what Go Simple Tax looks like, how easy it is to fill out, how intuitive it would be to use, and hopefully how I'm just reading Mandy's screenshot here, and a self-employed is under exciting job, so I'd love to know what that is. So in terms of the actual screen here, you can see Mandy has done a screenshot, and this is on one of the SA 103 self-employed pages. You've got the page into 2 sections. You've got green for income and orange yellow, depending on what you want to say, for the expenses. You'll see a similar pattern for all the different pages with Go Simple Tax, because we just like to keep it nice and straightforward. And once you're in the routine of seeing that page, we just feel as though it's a lot simpler and smoother to follow that theme throughout the different pages. So get started. Mandy's already got the income included in there, but if you wanted to include income, look about 1/3 down the page and you've got that green button, darker green than the title heading, and it says income with a plus sign. You would literally click on there and you'd get a pop-up window of the to add income, basically. There's a drop-down menu there for all the different types of income that we see regularly, and hopefully what yours fits the bill. You'll see on there invoice sales, other self-employment income. You'd see SEISS grants for those that received those during COVID. All them different options in terms of income are all included on that drop-down menu, and you would simply just include the date if you want to and include the amount relevant. So I've literally gone on there, £25,000, press save, and we've gone into back to the main page with the 24,000 showing an income. Next thing we're looking at is the expenses. Expenses are a little bit different because you've got one step in between, so actually before we actually enter the amount. But you press the orange button there, which I've highlighted, what says plus group, and you would choose the expense groups that are relevant to you. On this example, I chose car, van and travel, rent rates, power and insurance, and accounts debt. So tick those, go onto the bottom, press save, and they'll pop up on the screen again. Now we've got the new groups in there. You would click add under each section where you want to include some expense. So quickly here, just showing you a quick fuel entry. Category within car, van, travel expenses, choosing the fuel option. I've not included a date or a description. I've just taken £2,500, press save, and it appears on the expense section. Speed, I've already included a few other expenses. So you basically get an overview of expenses as and when you're going through, and you get a total at the top in the orange heading. In relation to this, you'll get detailed reports on the reports page. If you ever go and Go Simple Tax, up at the top, you'll have a reports button on the reports, and you'll basically get a page like this. You'll see on the page that you get the view calculation, which is like a blue little bar. You press the plus button on the right hand side, and you would get your calculation, your SA 302, appear on screen. However, I'm just going to direct you into the middle of the page, and you will see the different sections in terms of how your tax liability is made up. So tax liability to begin with is just the base of the tax calculation. You've then got 4 NI contributions, followed by class 2, and then it gives you a total tax liability. Total tax liability then follows down into a balance amount, and then if you are falling into the payments on account regime or scheme, then you would have the payment on account option 1095 on there as well. On the screenshot, you'll see a blue amount, and that 3444.44 relates to the total amount payable by the 31st of January. Underneath that, which you can just see a little bit of, is July payment as well. So just to finish you off there in terms of everything, I'm sorry if you can hear the dog behind me, by the way, and you're looking over my shoulder as well, but I suppose that's the issues of doing things at home these days. So on the final page now, it basically don't miss the deadline, which I told you about, the 31st of January deadline. And as Gabby's already said, if you're a member of the Freelance Club, then you get 20% discount off Go Simple Tax. So that's pretty much where we're at there. January support hours, during January we do extended hours, and we are on till 9 pretty much most nights during the week. And then on weekends we do 10 till 4. On 31st of January, for any of those late stragglers, we do have support up until midnight. So for Simple Tax, again, really simple to use. Have a little sign up on there. If you sign up using the link on the screen there, you'll basically open a free trial account where you can have a little play around, and separate to that you should receive an email with the discount code. So it's literally go on, have a little play around with it. If it's for you, then by all means sign up. If it's not, then no hard done by, and there's no payment, so it's not too bad. Hopefully there's cleared up a few things in terms of deadlines, records, keep, and other things. By all means, if there's any questions, stick them in the chat now, and Gabby can read them out to me.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Aidan, for this presentation. It was so full of information, and you managed to deliver it in such a short period of time. So thank you so much. Very, very useful. And now it's time for you. We still have a few minutes left. So if anyone has a question, you can either unmute yourself and ask, or you can drop it in the chat. I already shared the link there. So go to gosimpletext.com because I think this tool can make it really, really easy for you, and make the most out of this expert here being on her line, on hand, sorry, and see if you have any questions. So Aga says, thanks a lot, need to go, but thanks again. Okay, thank you, Aga. See you. That is not a question then, but yeah, if anyone wants to ask anything, it can be very specific to you, to your profession, to your situation, whatever it might be. Yeah. Or it can be in general if you're still unsure whether you should file or not. Anything, we still have a few minutes left, so I'll just leave the floor open to you if anyone wants to ask anything.
Yeah, by all means, ask away. The funniest thing is I've literally gone through that full presentation with the dog pestering me, and she's literally now lay down nice and quiet. No, I'm not talking anymore. So.
Yeah, she just wanted the quiet. Okay, we have a question from Camilla. Is the payment a subscription for this service? And thank you so much for delivering this.
No worries. And yes, it is. Basically, you would sign up for a subscription, which is the cheaper option. There is a one-off, which we then wouldn't renew in April. But by all means, there's a subscription, which you can see on screen in terms of the price, but there's no minimum contract. So by all means, it is literally make payment now, and then you can cancel by all means in February. So it can be a subscription renewable in April, but if not, then it's up to you.
Mm-hmm. Okay, thank you. Camelot also mentioned that they're a small business who does online e-commerce. Thank you. Yeah. So that seems that answered the question. So thank you so much, Aidan. any more questions, feel free to drop them in the chat or unmute yourself. Still here for a few minutes.
Yeah, as I say, if you've got any questions about the business, about your business, whether you're not sure whether you need to register or anything of the sort, then ask away. You've got me for a few more minutes, you might as well.
Wonderful. Okay, we have the question about your app again from Deborah. Is the £54.99 the annual subscription?
Yes, so you basically, in terms of the subscription licenses, you would pay for a tax year. So you get unlimited access to that tax year for however many licenses you purchase. So for example, if you to pay for one license for the 21-22 tax year, you get access to that for one person. And even if you needed to submit an amendment later down the line, you still have access to that year. So yeah, and the renewal, if you were to use the 20% discount, then it would renew at the £54.99. Yes.
Wonderful, thank you. I'd actually like to ask, what's the best way to get a hold of you? If anyone will have any questions after they watch this, maybe they watch the recording afterwards and they still want to ask you something, what's the best way to contact you?
The best way to contact would be popping onto the software or the website, I should say, gosimpletext.com, and in the bottom left you'll see a little red question mark. Press the little question mark, it will expand out, and on one of the lower tabs it will say email support. Click on email support and then you get like a little basic email structure. Stick your details in there, send it out, and that will basically create a ticket for myself and the other my other colleagues, and we'll just get back to you in terms of any questions that you've got. If you want it specifically for me, then FAO Aidan, and I'll get around to it. I'm on late this week, so I'm on 2:10.
Yeah, gosh, I really admire those late extended hours as well. Okay, so here's the link in the chat for everyone once again. And if we don't have any more questions, it's fine. Let me just invite you to some of our other meetups. So as most of you already know, they're always on Tuesdays, 5 p.m., just like today's. The next two coming up are one on SEO, so search engine optimization, getting found on Google, which is on the 7th of February. And the next one will be panel discussion, which I'm super excited about, and that will be on AI and whether AI will replace us freelancers or not. So that is on the 21st of February. Feel free to sign up on the website. It's all free. These happen half hours or 1 hour's webinars. It's super fun, and they stay recorded on the website, so you can also watch it afterwards, especially with the one today. There was so much useful information there. Make sure you check out either our social media or your inbox with the link here, so you can go back to the presentation and just take it in your own space. So that's everything from me. Thank you so much, Aidan, once again for presenting. And I know we have Amanda here as well, who made all this possible. So thanks, big thanks to not just Amanda, but everyone from Go Simple Text. You're doing a great job. And yeah, good luck with this finish, because I'm sure it's going to be intense. So yeah, thank you so much, everyone. Have a good evening.
Yes, Gabby, thank you.